welcome back. So let's go back. I mean, well, first of all, let me see if there's a way. If would you all want to respond to some of the things that you heard with regards to the super spreader event? That's where we ended before, and some of the comments from Dr. Frederick. And I know Anthony, because you were there. How many people did you see with masks?
Not many. That's like the first thing I thought about was when I was like, wow, it's not like hardly no one with a mask on out here. So I definitely was really like aware of my surrounding. I was definitely trying to stay as far away from people as possible. When people was talking to me or just like bumping up to people, it was a really like intense scene. So I'm assuming that people wasn't aware that people wasn't wearing masks as well. So that's kind of was one of the things that you kind of you saw. And as you know, Mac supporters never really was real advocates of the mask in the first place. So they never really wore a mask. So that's one thing that you have to, out of every protest that I've covered, majority of them wasn't never wearing masks. So I think that's one thing, especially at the monument, at the
Right.
National Mall. It was a lot of people out there, and I literally think like 90% of them wasn't wearing masks.
Stacy and James, I want to go back to the question about the inauguration, and what if anything you may have heard the mayor say about how they're going to, um, what the effort is going to be, or the police chief, or the secretary of the army, or the National Guard, any of them. I mean, how are they going to stage this inauguration, even if it's just, I mean, the members of Congress or the president elect and vice president elect just getting sworn in on that day. Like you said, Stacy, it was what was going on inside of the Capitol that brought those people to break in. There's a more significant event that's going to happen on the 20th.
Yeah.
Have they talked about it?
Well, certainly they have spoken about it. We heard of all people, the U.S. attorney talk about it. But you also will have Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, George Bush, a lot of dignitaries there. So when that happens, that they will, and certainly given what just happened, you'll have extra Secret Service just because you have the former presidents will be there, except Trump won't be there. He said today there's no way he's going to that inauguration. And now it appears, at first Mike Pence appeared to have committed to go, and now it's a big question as to whether he's going to go. But nonetheless, withstanding that, there's going to be a presence. It's not going to be a lot of people allowed there anyway. So you'll have a show of force, and I don't think that many will be as concerned, but when you have such radicals and they see that type of show of force, you have to be prepared, certainly much more prepared than they were on Wednesday.
And there's a great possibility because terrorists do terrorizing things, and there's a great possibility that there could be something to happen that takes away from that event. And I'm not trying to predict or put ideas out there, which I probably just did, but you just
they already
never
have
know.
an idea, Denise. Don't worry.
Thank you. I don't want to be responsible. And then. James, what about, did you hear anything from the mayor's press conference on yesterday?
Did we lose James?
You're going to what the city is going to do in terms of, can you hear me now?
You guys are on mute, both Denise and James.
I know we can't hear James, and James, you all can't hear me. So, all right, James, go ahead.
Okay, I can hear you.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, well, we haven't heard of Okay, we haven't heard a solid plan from the mayor yet. Keep in mind, Washington, D.C. has been, and I think Stacy's going to be writing about this next week, has been doing these inaugurations since 1801 in some sort of form or fashion. So the city has a playbook in terms of doing this. And but it'll have to be different because of COVID-19 and of course of the nonsense that took place at the Capitol. And the Metropolitan Police Department will have to coordinate with all the other law enforcement agencies in the area in order to make sure that those folks don't mess up the inauguration. But I agree with Stacy; they're probably going to try something.
And James, on another note, one of the things that you've written about is the mayor, and we talked earlier. Stacy has a show that I had the pleasure of being on this morning. Stacy, tell us the name of your early morning program. Early morning program.
Well, Denise, I'm glad you got up for it. It was fantastic. It's called Let It Be Known.
Fantastic. And it broadcasts every morning at 7:30, at least Eastern time on Facebook and and on Black Press USA. So I would advise everybody to check in. But one of the things we talked about was the Eleanor Holmes Norton's bill, right, to hopefully bring statehood to the District of Columbia, 51st state, and also the rules change that.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that, James.
Sure. First of all, I'll talk about the Washington, D.C. Admissions Act. This is Eleanor Holmes Norton bill that would grant the district and make the district the 51st state in the union. That bill already has, even though it's early in the session, 202 original co-sponsors. Keep in mind, it takes 218 in order to pass legislation. That is an extraordinary accomplishment for any member of Congress in order to get that number of co-sponsors of legislation early in the session. And so it bodes very well in terms of her bill. She's gotten commitments from House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, as well as Steny Hoyer, who is the House Majority Leader, that it will be on the floor sometime this year, probably sooner better than later. In terms of a rules change, the mayor of the District of Columbia now has the floor privileges on the House of Representatives. That was a result of the rules changes that was supported by, of course, offered by Ms. Norton and supported by Pelosi. What that does is that really puts Muriel Bowser or any district mayor, she may be the last district mayor, in terms of being able to go to the floor of the House like other governors and the territories have the privilege to do so. So even though we're not at statehood yet, we're making these, and I like to use Eleanor's favorite term, incremental steps in order to get there, and that's one of them.
Stacy, I want to ask you too, being a member of the National Newspaper Publishers Association, and so many times I have even advocated for the publishers to do more to support the district in its plight for statehood. People around the country still don't understand what we are. It's as if they think we are a state. They don't understand that and then there's some who say we don't deserve to be a state. What's your have you done anything on this, and what's your take on it?
Well, yeah, my take is that those who say that DC doesn't deserve to be a state haven't been paying attention, and haven't been paying attention for a long time. This is something, as and James knows, that Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton has been fighting for decades. And there's a lot of things we saw, again, going back to what happened at the Capitol, right? Mayor Bowser, her hands were tied because MPD, the Metropolitan Police, are not allowed to go into the Capitol unless invited, right? So when this happened on Mayor Bowser's, on DC's turf, if you will, right? It's like somebody coming to your house, breaking into your house, and there's nothing you can do about it. You might have all the weapons and ammunition possible to defend yourself, but by law, you can't. So there's a lot with, I mean, that's just one small tip. I know we don't have a lot of time, but that's just one small piece there. So to say that DC doesn't deserve statehood is quite ridiculous. Look, Muriel Bowser, and I was calling her this morning. You mentioned my show, Let It Be Known. I was calling her Mayor Bowser. I mean, Governor Bowser, because she certainly she certainly, it was much more in control than President Trump, right? So, or anybody else for that matter. And I just enjoyed the way that she took the lead. Rudy Giuliani, who everyone knows now as that zany, wacky, riot inciting Trump lawyer. When we had 9/11, he was the mayor of New York at the time, and there was this movement because it was the end of his term. And there was this movement that he led actually to try and had term limits in New York to try and extend his term, because he became known for some reason as America's mayor because of the way he led in that situation. Well, in just one press conference, and I know she's done more than just one press conference, but in one press conference, Mayor Bowser was much more of a leader, showed much more leadership than Giuliani in all those 9/11 press conferences and things he did in 9/11. And there was a lot of passion there. Usually politicians are, it's faked. It's faux, right? They're not that connected. Well, Mayor Bowser is very, very, and I'm not a fan, I'm just speaking as a journalist. She's really connected with Washington, D.C. And she really, you have to tip your hat to her. The lead that she's taken, and the lead that you will see her take going forward toward inauguration is going to be something to watch. So, like I said, those who believe DC doesn't deserve statehood just haven't been paying attention.
So she's a fourth generation Washingtonian. So yes, you're right. She is DC. But I do want to ask, I guess, in closing, and it's a question you posed earlier, and Anthony, you may even have some feelings about how that may happen. There are folks that are thinking of impeaching the president again, invoking, what is it, the 25th
Amendment, yes.
Amendment to get him out, or just as I heard someone on some other talk show say the other day, just pack him up, put him on a plane, and send him to Mar-a-Lago so he can play golf. But if there is some punishable action, Anthony, how do you think, you were around those people, you talk to them? What is there a feeling that you have that they're not done?
It doesn't seem like they were done. There was they definitely it was like some cult like followings these past couple weeks. Just everything that even blocking him on social media still doesn't take away his impact on people's minds. Just hearing him talk and just hearing how people just follow him with everything that he says. I mean, it was definitely like a cult vibe there. I mean, this fact that you can say, let's all go to the Capitol and cause some trouble, and everybody just start going to the Capitol. That was his fault. I mean, I really want people to understand that, that his past 4 years has been pretty much one of the craziest times that we ever had for a president. And as far as impact of racism and just hate all around, and that just watching these past moments of just hatred and just protests that we as African Americans can't even do, or without repercussions, is troubling for all of us. And one thing I will say in closing is that I watch a lot of reporters and camera crews, and just their camera equipment was damaged because of the hate for the media. And I really wanted to shout out all the media people. I'm proud of everything that we do to cover the news, because it was a lot of people that got their camera damaged and just like called out, and hatred because of what they represented and who they work for. And I believe there's no fake news. We all tell the story. We all have our views. We all have it. So, no matter what people say, black press matters more because our views need to be more representative in a white privileged nation. So,
Thank you so
that's
much
one thing
about
that I
that.
will
Yeah.
say. Yes.
Interesting, Anthony. And then one other question I wanted to ask you about your observations down there, because I haven't heard much conversation about that. Everyone's talking about how do we talk to our children about what happened. Didn't people have their children out there on Wednesday?
Yes, it was a lot of children. I literally, as I was videotaping, I saw women just carrying like the bags and the children's in the carts, and I was just like, wow. And even at the last protest, you had people out there having their children speak for them, like just having their children speak to the public about what they view and what they think happened. And that's the thing that we have to do. Parents need to do a better job of just letting their children just learn and just have their own mindset. Don't force them to do something that you want them to do. That's one thing that we have to change is the mental health and awareness of our children in our environments and what we're immune them to do and listen to. We have to do a better job of just antagonizing them not to be that person because of what we are, and let them have their own mindset and their own views on what's going on, because it was a woman out there just yelling, telling her child what to say on the microphone. She was just like, and these kids like are just going to listen. They're not going to
Right, right.
question their parents.
Right. Now, I appreciate that. And I know that people will say, on all sides. I mean, Black Lives Matter folks had, their children out there, and we've had, these folks had them out there. And it is a teaching moment. But as one, Anthony, who has written children's books, I get your position on that. Stacy, you wanted to add something?
Yeah,
Or
well, it's
James?
interesting. It's interesting, Anthony, because you're right. And one of your viewers, Denise Michael Von Lasseter, says, unfortunately, hate is passed down to children. It is a learned condition. And what's interesting, look, the president, they're acting out because they listening to him, and he's pretty much pulling the strings. So Anthony is totally right. And just a quick side note, and I'll let you get to James. We got to wake James up over there. But quick side note, just prior to this, there was a video we found this morning, brand new video of Donald Trump, Eric Trump, Kimberly Guilford, Mark Meadows, and a whole bunch of Trump supporters and family members was in a tent. I guess, I don't know if it's next to the White House or somewhere else. They was playing music. They were partying. And on the screen there, they had the crowd, the large crowd that was building. And so you saw their awkward dancing and stuff. And Trump was egging on Kimberly and to keep dancing. And he was talking about Mark Meadows. And they were really, pumped up and celebrating this moment just moments before the riot. So
Yeah.
it's cultish.
Well,
So
that's
how did he get from the mall to the Capitol and then back to the party, or did he even
Now, this
go
was the
to
party
the
was
Capitol?
before. So the video that he was talking about was actually before the riot. So this is when we all was at the National Mall, and I think he had like a
But the
something.
question is, which I have not heard the answer to. I think I know it, but did he actually march with them to the Capitol?
No, I
no,
don't
no,
think
he didn't
so.
march.
No,
No.
no. He initiated them to go to the Capitol because that was before he spoken. He was just watching the screen and just watching everything going live, and you can see
So
that.
despite the fact that he told them, "I'm going
Mhm,
with you,"
Right.
mhm.
that was fake news.
Yeah, he definitely
Mhm.
told them. Hey,
All right. Well,
just
I'm
like
gonna.
he drove around, just like he drove around at the hospital. He thought he was with them at that as well. He just driving around. He thinks he's with them at these moments where he just kind of initiating things, and is definitely crazy. How he just kind of thinks they're like he's a part of the movement when he's really not.
So we're gonna wrap this up, and I'm gonna start with James. James, do you have any closing remarks or anything that you might want to say, talk as relates to this, or what people in the community need to be concerned about as it relates to the inauguration or the mayor, your projection for the new Congress? We'll talk about that later, but any of those things.
Let me just say that the District of Columbia is in the national spotlight now. Personal opinion, want to go back to what you were saying about what they should do with President Trump. It is you don't have the time to really conduct a thorough. I think that at the best, both in the House can pass. Well, the Senate can't because they've adjourned until the day before the swearing in. But the House could pass a censure resolution and just leave it at that. Let the man go back to Florida. Let him go and let this man go into the past where he belongs. And in terms of the city needs to be ready for that nonsense that his people are going to come up here with, and be ready and to quell them and crush them as they do that, because we can't let them ruin our beautiful city.
All right, thank you, James. Anthony?
Yes.
Any closing remarks?
Black press matters. It's time for us to be representative more in this, in this world. And I think we need to, do a better job at just, being at these breaking moments, just really capturing these tales and just, adversity of our people. Because, being in those moments mean a lot, because we're there to cover these breaking news. And that exhilarating moment is what is happening right now with all of us. And I think, I salute people like, back press organizations like yourself, because we need to be more representative on Twitter. Dear Twitter, if you're watching this, we need to be verified. I need you to verify all black press organizations ASAP. Twitter, at Twitter. Watch this, verify all black press organizations. I'm going to keep posting this every single month until you do it. Black press matters.
Thank you, Anthony. And the other thing I don't want to get into this discussion, but I am curious, because when you talk about black press was there, we know black people were there too with those marchers. We'll talk about that another time. Stacy Brown, your closing remarks.
Well, first of all, Anthony, they might wind up giving us a black check mark instead of a blue verification mark. So that's okay. But I think either Tuesday, certainly no later than Wednesday, there will be an impeachment of Donald Trump by the House of Representatives. There's no question about it. It's going to happen. And people say, well, what does that matter? He's leaving in a few days anyway. It matters. Bill Clinton was impeached. Not many presidents were impeached, and no president was impeached twice. So Trump has designs on running again in 4 years. That should hurt him. That makes that more than just a procedural thing. But I also think you'll see this year reparations bills passed. Sheila Jackson Lee's HR 40, which will then create a commission to explore reparations. I think that will certainly pass. I think statehood will definitely happen. I think you'll see that happen. May not be this year, but I don't know how long the process will take once Congress does ratify it. Certainly, Joe Biden has indicated that he would support it. So I don't see no reason why he'd go back on his word with that. So that is a couple of things you will see this year. I'm not so positive that or optimistic that we're gonna see the end of the coronavirus this year. I know nobody wants to hear that, but we have to bring the news, right? So and I just don't see that happening. I know again, President-elect Biden has a lot of plans for the distribution of the virus of the vaccine. I keep saying giving people the virus? Vaccine. And so I think we probably have to ride out at least for the first half of this year, maybe most of the second half too with the virus. But if we wear a mask, social distance, wash our hands for 20 seconds at least, and just be smart, we can get this behind us. But it's a lot. I think we're gonna have it goes without saying, Anthony and James, we're gonna have a lot more breaking news this year. It's gonna be unexpected, but we got to be ready.
Gentlemen, I want to thank you all for being with us today and for sharing your insights as it relates to not only what we saw this week, the insurrection and the mayhem in the nation's capital, but also successful politics. We didn't get a chance to talk much about Georgia and some other issues, but the point is you all are still here, and we can have you back in future weeks. And we certainly did enjoy the conversation. And I want to wish you well. I want to thank those of you all who were watching. Vera Abbott, who happens to be my mother, has been watching and sending us some comments. Thank you for joining. Michael Lassiter, who happens to be Sherry's husband. This is a true family affair.
And then they say hi to Kim Curtis there. She's watching. I know Kim. Hey, Kim.
All right, thank you, Kim, and for all of those that you're watching, when you're watching the show, we'd love for you to share it with your friends and family and colleagues or whoever's following you on Facebook. So, gentlemen, I'm gonna let you go. Have a great weekend. Be safe, and keep those pencils sharpened.